Welcome back. If you're joining us now for the first time, I would encourage you to go and review our previous recordings to give you a better understanding of what we're discussing here today. One might say that we're reaching the end of the first part of this series, understanding the basics, the foundations of parenting, why we parent, where we see that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how we understand that we have to foster and cultivate that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu through building a relationship with our children, and how eventually they will build that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and so on, create a chain of events that will end in Yishuv Ha'olam and end in Isdapkus B'Hashem. But there is one final point that we see here in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created certain conditions before even Yetzias Mitzrayim, before the birth of Klal Yisrael as a nation. There was one more detail that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put in there. And that detail, of course, is Moshe Rabbeinu. And it's incredibly interesting because the fact of consideration, concern, the fact of the basics of trust, the fact of the basics of unlimited giving and unconditional giving and unrestricted giving, and all the other ideas that we already discussed, of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already gave that in Mitzrayim. But he also put in one more detail of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu, of course, in essence, is the perfect example, physical example, of someone who reached a level of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where you could already feel and see his Isdapkus B'Hashem in this world. Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah is not called Gadol Adar or Tzaddik. Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah, his title is Eved Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu, Chazal tell us, everything that he did was pure Ratzon Hashem. Chazal tell us, Shechina medaberes mitoch groinoi. Kaviyachol, whatever comes out of Moshe's mouth is Devar Hashem. When there was Mageifa in Klal Yisrael and Moshe Rabbeinu sends Aaron HaKohen with the Keturas to stop the Mageifa, the Malach HaMovos tells him, I was sent by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aaron HaKohen says, I was sent by Moshe, and if Moshe sent me, that's Devar Hashem. In Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing us an example of someone who so perfected that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu that even in this world, he reached a certain level of Isdapkus B'Hashem. And of course, we see not only that there is a possibility of a human being reaching that title of Eved Hashem, not only do we see a human being who perfected his relationship in this world with HaKadosh Baruch Hu to a level that he started his Isdapkus B'Hashem in this world, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu also showed us how he did it. He showed us a person whose entire essence was consideration and concern for Klal Yisrael. Instead of living in the palace a luxury life, he goes out and is concerned without being asked for help. He's concerned with what's going on in Klal Yisrael. As we know, he kills a Mitzri because this Mitzri hit another Yid. And the next day he sees two Yidden fighting and he stops them because that could not work for Klal Yisrael. And we see not only is he concerned for Klal Yisrael, but he's concerned for the tachlis of every person there. We see that he's concerned that to make sure that he's imitating everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his creator, does. He's being sent, he has to escape Mitzrayim after Paro tries to kill him. He reaches Midian. And not only is he not sitting there depressed after losing his connection with his family, he's actually willing to help more people, trying to connect more people with that joy of being connected with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to a point where people invite this stranger to their house and give him one of his daughters. He becomes a shepherd. Chazal tell us he takes care of his sheep to an extent that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if this is the way how he takes care of sheep, I want him to take care of my kids. His entire essence, no matter where he was to cultivate that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whether it was with the people around him in Mitzrayim, whether it was with the people around him in Midian, or even when it was with the sheep. He showed that Rachmanis because that's what his creator shows, unlimited Rachmanis. So he showed that to a sheep. He sees a fire burning in the sneh. He does not say, oh wow, that's interesting, and move along. He goes closer to investigate. What is this message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling me? He's teaching Klal Yisrael with every step of his story that our entire job in this world is to investigate and evaluate. How do we cultivate our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Of course, there is the other aspect of Moshe, because Moshe indeed has another title, Onov Mikol Adam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was sending a very clear message to Klal Yisrael. Of course, the point here is to create a relationship, to create a partnership. But remember one thing. Chazal tell us, Ein ani v'hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot live together with a Baal Gaiva. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Moshe into Klal Yisrael. We're going to build a relationship. I'm going to provide everything necessary for this relationship. There's going to be trust. There's going to be respect. There's going to be unrestricted giving. There's going to be unconditional giving. Everything is going to be there. But remember, there has to be anivus involved. And for that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends in Moshe Onov Mikol Adam. Not because Moshe, Chas v'Shalom, was somehow low on the totem pole. He was not such a great guy. Adarabah, Moshe was the highest of highest. Yet somehow, he managed to say to himself, if someone else had my talents and abilities, he would have been greater. Which means I'm Onov Mikol Adam. Why? Because Moshe understood that the point here is not to be, there is a me. The point here is to have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With every talent that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me, I have to use it to the maximum. To create and cultivate that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To reach a higher level of Eved Hashem. To reach ultimately as Dapkas Bashem. And of course, there is one final point. Kaviyachol, there is no physical relationship between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, however, wanted there should be a physical essence. We discussed the idea of communication. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Moshe to communicate because there is a need of communication in order to build that relationship. And of course, eventually, we will see that there is communication between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly through Tefillah. But it started through Moshe. It started through a physical being. And that physical being also shows us the idea of physical touch. Rashi in Ksubis tells us no relationship can be built without physical touch. And this is also something HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing us as parents. We have to be there for our children in a physical way. A hug, a kiss, whatever it takes. There has to be a physical connection in order to create that bond, to start building that relationship. All of this is what we see in the relationship that HaKadosh Baruch Hu builds with Klal Yisrael even before Klal Yisrael is born as a nation. This series is produced by Torah.org, sponsored by the DonorsFund.org. For all your charitable giving for a free and an efficient experience, open your account today at the DonorsFund.org. Have a wonderful day.